Starfield just got its biggest update since launch, but in my opinion, it's too little too late. But two major features got introduced to the game that absolutely should have been there at launch. But unfortunately, this weed is bad down to the root and might be a little bit past saving. Let's get it. Good morning, Stallions and Stallionettes. I'm AK40Kevin, this is the GamerHeaven, and today we're talking about Starfield, which just got a major update, which added a couple of features that absolutely should have been in the game at launch. The first one is going to be usable maps. When you're in a city, you used to get not even a topographical map. It looked like a bunch of blue dots, kind of like Assassin's Creed before you do the swan dive off of a tower, where you can't really see any of the waypoints. There's no roads, which if you're in a big city, which some of the major urban areas are kind of like a maze, it was very hard to get around. So we now have maps. 8 months and a week after launch, we're getting maps, something that should be baked in the game at launch. The next one, and this is extremely welcome, is a performance or 60 frames per second mode for the consoles, which is the main complaint. Well, that's not the main complaint. That's the main performance complaint I had, as I didn't really experience very many bugs and glitches other than the usual Bethesda silliness with an NPC companion clipping into the wall or something, but no game busting breaking glitches like some people were running into. But being locked at 30 frames per second on console, it sucks the fat wiener. Even if there's an option that cuts you all the way down to 1080p or does some black magic voodoo in the background with checkerboard upscaling and pushing VRR to the max or whatever the hell needs to be done. It's 2024 and these 9th generation consoles should absolutely have a 60 frame per second mode in every title. Just ugly up them graphics a little bit. So that's wonderful that we have a 60 frame per second mode on the consoles. And yes, that's even the little Series S that could, the $300 budget banger from Microsoft. But the biggest problem in Starfield lies so much deeper than what can be fixed with patches and updates, or even what is accessible through the modding community. And that's why I kind of alluded to this weed is rotten down to the root, down to its core, down to the game's framework, scripts, its base files, if you will. Because things like those multiple load screens, those interstellar blackouts that you have every time you're trying to fast travel somewhere, those cannot be modded out. The modding community can't do anything for those. The NPCs doing the weird bug eye thing, which I guess I didn't notice my first playthrough, but it was definitely present. Other than a reskin from the modding community, that can't really be fixed. The biggest problem lies in the story and the fact that there really is no in-game content, because once you beat the game, spoiler alerts incoming, warning, click off the video. The game's end-game cycle, where you become a Starborn and live your life over again, basically starting over from level 1, doesn't really give you any incentives to play other than the fact that if you've done that loop multiple times and become a Starborn 6 times over, you can get some kind of cool looking armor sets or some random events where you'll walk into the HQ and all of the members of Constellation are one person, which is crazy. But other than seeing something neato Toledo like that, it's definitely not worth dumping hours of your time into, considering several hours of that playtime is going to be sitting through load screens, exploring barren wasteland planets. And there are mods to enhance some of these complaints. For example, the barren wastelands, there's one that adds several points of interest off in the distance, so instead of having 3 or 4, you have like 10 things that you can go see on that little planet. It's also been mentioned or kind of teased in an early preview build that a land vehicle, kind of a buggy Land Rover, is going to be coming to the game, but that's something that would have been hella beneficial at launch, considering exploring these barren wastelands on foot or even by jetpack is not ideal. Now, I dumped about 80 hours into Starfield at launch, got my initial review out, beat the game, put another 30 hours into my second playthrough, if you want to call it that. It was on the same game file, but I went all Starborn and whatnot. Then I set it down and haven't picked it up, other than to test it the other day to check out the new features of the new update, like the 60 frame per second mode and the fact we now have maps. But guess what? The load screens are there. Guess what? The subpar story's still there. Guess what? The lack of in-game content's still there. And the biggest problem here is that the modding community can't really redeem this game, and that's one of the things that Bethesda titles really stand out for. In fact, they're famous, or I guess I should say infamous for it, because they usually require a lot of mod support to make things like the user interface and menus pleasurable to browse. But there's a huge lack of mod support for that game, whether it's supply and demand. There's not much demand because not very many gamers are playing Starfield anymore because of that lackluster story from the vanilla experience. But if we come down here, you can see 4.4 billion downloads of mods for Skyrim, 1.5 for Fallout 4 over here. It's just built for mod support, really. She takes it like a champion. Don't get tired scrolling with your scroll wheel. Down here, 42 million downloads. That's still a lot. But there's only so much that the modding community can do, as they are limited in what they can access. And a little sentiment that I wanted to share as a Bethesda fan, I really do genuinely wish that Starfield just hadn't have happened and the studio would have directly focused on the next Elder Scrolls game. Or me personally, I've always liked the Fallout series more than Elder Scrolls. Fantasy, monsters, magic, and swords, that's pretty cool. Post-apocalyptic wasteland with a bunch of interesting factions and sick-ass weapons blowing people apart in vats, a little bit cooler in my opinion. But if you are a fan of Starfield, it's good to see that Bethesda is still supporting the game. They did this update. There's also the one major piece of DLC or expansion coming in the near future, but you can tell I'm lacking enthusiasm. Like Norm in all of his previous jobs, I lack enthusiasm when I mention that news, because I'm gonna play through it and give a little review. Hey, this is, the Phantom Liberty expansion, but the equivalent to Cyberpunk. But after that, I don't foresee myself really revisiting Starfield, as where I have replayed Fallout 4 so many times, whether it's the vanilla experience with some visual enhancements or a completely revamped story and a new map with a DLC level mod expansion. So the replay value for me and a lot of Bethesda fans that like that typical formula, whether it's the shoot, loot, and scoop mentality of Fallout 4, or it's some of the deeper RPG mechanics of 3 and New Vegas. Yes, I know Obsidian did New Vegas, but it was released to the world by Bethesda. You got your developers and then your publishers. Think of it like Activision Blizzard, and then under that umbrella, you got all the COD studios. I'm going to be introducing a new series on the channel in the near future called Adventures of the Wasteland or Adventures of Fallout. I'm not sure yet. Adventures of the Wasteland sounds better, but Adventures of Fallout would be better for search engine optimization and actually getting the series discovered by people that are looking for Fallout videos. But that's going to be a humdinger. Is Your Brother a Singer? Episode 101, if you will. The jumping off point is going to be me screen sharing on my Xbox Series X as I show you how to install mods directly on the console and then also on the PC to get up and running with a lightly modded build. The ideal experience of Fallout 4 IMO, or in my personal opinion. And then we're just going to go out there and see what the Wasteland has to offer us. What kind of weird encounters we can get into. Getting buck wild with a couple of chem freaks in the back of Mass Fusion. Oh yeah. Melting scents and slapping raiders, sliding in and out of power armor, the usual, really, Fallout shit. That slick little Fallout custom controller I ordered from Xbox Design Labs did get delivered the other day. I made a short form video about it. Didn't perform very well. Probably a big part of that is the fact that you cannot change your thumbnails on shorts unless you upload and do all of it from an Android phone. Not an iPhone, not a computer, not a Mac, which most people that run a YouTube channel, it's on a computer because you have a lot more control of the dashboard. And you can't select a thumbnail, so it just randomly selects a snippet of the video, which could be my hand or something that nobody gives a shit about. Yeah, hopefully Google fixes that, but shorts have been around for like 2 years now and you still can't change the thumbnails. Thank you for watching. Drop in the comment section below your opinion of Starfield. It's a fucking boring mess still, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers, so this information will reach and assist them as well. Much like the back of the TV, I've got plugs for all of my socials down there in the description below. And your wallet will greatly thank you if you check the description, because there are exclusive discounts on a ton of products, including controllers, KontrolFreeks, keyboards, mouse pads, clothes, and energy drinks. And keep in mind that you, the viewer, keep this channel running. The more Stallions and Stallionettes trotting around the stable, the better, so mollywop that subscribe button like it owes you money, and we'll have the same amount of fun tomorrow.